In this lesson, we're going to be looking at accurate articles in the English language, and of course applying that to our speaking skills too. Articles are without a doubt one of the most common mistakes made by non-native English speakers. So being able to use articles accurately will really go a long way in improving your overall fluency. So let's take a look at articles. They're a really important part of English grammar. They basically help us modify names of things. They help us modify nouns, either to be specific or less specific. So they're really useful. And again, they're very commonly misused by non-native English speakers. And it's very quick to see and hear these mistakes and understand that fluency is not perfect. So it's really important that we get a really strong understanding of articles in order to boost our fluency. Okay, so we have a and an. So they're used in much a similar way. If the following noun begins with a vowel, A, E, I, O, U, we use an. If the following noun starts with a consonant, we use a. Here we have the, and X marks zero article. So we also, depending on the noun, do not use an, a, or the. And understanding when is very important. So here's an example of some common mistakes. Here, a data shows to be dropping. So this could be in writing, it could be an academic paper, it could be at a place of work, in speaking, and a data is obviously wrong. It should be here, the data. So we're being specific. We're talking specifically about some known data. So we don't use a, we use the data. Instructor is very helpful. So another very common mistake is to omit an article when one is needed. So here we need to add the. The instructor is very helpful. I'm talking about specifically one person. So I use the. The instructor is very helpful. And it is a very common mistake to not use an article. Instructor is very helpful. An error there, and straight away people will know that you've made a mistake in your fluency. So we need to really work on articles, both in writing and speaking. Let's jump into looking at a and an. So we use a or an when talking about singular countable nouns. So we're talking about things like an apple. So in this bag of apples, I'm talking specifically about one thing. Oh, I would love to eat an apple. What other examples could I give? Would it be possible to give me an apple? Talking about one thing. And here we have a picture of some chairs. Excuse me, could I please borrow a chair? So I'm not saying which one. Could I borrow a blue chair? I'm saying any of the chairs. One of them, please. Could I borrow a chair? So we're not being specific about which noun we are looking at. We're just saying one of them. An apple. A chair. So that is our use of a and an. Now we have the. So we use the when talking about specific nouns that we know, we've seen, or we have an understanding of. So here is a picture of some guitars. Now, I could say I like guitars in general, but actually I'm talking about some guitars I can see. Imagine I'm in a shop. The guitars inside this shop are brilliant. I'm specifically saying the guitars I can see are great. We can also use them for singular specific nouns. Excuse me, how much is the red guitar? I can't say how much are red guitars. Well, I could, but actually I'm saying specifically, would it be possible to play the black guitar? I'm being specific about the noun I'm referring to. Here's a picture of some students. The students here are very hardworking. I'm being specific. I'm not talking about students across the world. I'm saying these 4 students. The 4 students in my class are awesome. So we need to use the for specific nouns. We're talking about specific objects or people. And here is no article, 0 article. And we do this when we're talking about items, objects, people in general. And we don't use an article here. I love guitars. I don't say, I love the guitars, unless I'm talking about the guitars I can see. Guitars are difficult to play. In my opinion, guitars sound awesome. I'm generally talking about this object or person. Skiers are amazing sports people. That's another example. Here, students across the world are studying languages. At international schools, students work very hard. So I'm not talking specifically about any particular noun. I'm speaking in general. Okay, so let's jump into a live video and take a look at some common mistakes. Okay, we're going to go through 3 really common mistakes that non-native English speakers have when using articles. And our first mistake is for proper nouns. So proper nouns are a type of noun which is for individual people, it can be for places, or it can be for organizations. For example, the United Nations is always written with a capital U and a capital N. So proper nouns, people, places, or it could be organizations too. Now, with proper nouns, we never use an article. I wouldn't say, I'm excited to go to the London, or I'll be moving work to, let's say, the Coca-Cola company, or we don't use articles with proper nouns. For example, the name of a person, Michael Jordan. We don't say the Michael Jordan is a good basketball player. So really important that we don't use articles with proper nouns. Our second commonly held misconception and ultimately the mistake made is with not using an article. So like the example we had before, my instructor, or shall we say, the instructor at school is great, not instructor at school is awesome. So it's also remembering when we must include a noun. So if we're talking specifically about an object, we need to use an article. So if I was to say, my favorite, or should we say the car is my favorite mode of transport. I'm saying specifically my car, the car in my garage is my favorite mode of transport. So if I'm saying specifically about a noun, I must use an article. If I'm talking in general about items, objects, people, then there's no need to use the article. Microphones can be very expensive. Footballers are well paid. So where it's a general noun, I'm not being specific, I do not need to use an article. Okay, on to point 3. So it's really important that we remember to use articles with superlatives. So that is a type of word such as highest, strongest, cleverest, what else can we say? Highest, tallest, biggest. We should always use an article with these types of words, superlatives. The longest river is. The highest mountain is. The shortest. So we always use articles with superlatives, and often non-native English speakers omit the article, and it's quite easy to see that their fluency isn't quite native level. So definitely important that you remember these 3 common mistakes. Okay, see you in the next lesson.